Imagine waking up one morning and your entire life savings can't buy a single loaf of bread. Not because you're poor, not because you made bad decisions, but because the money itself, the paper in your wallet, became worth less than the paper it was printed on. This happened in Zimbabwe in 2008, and it is one of the most terrifying economic stories ever recorded in human history. At its peak, Zimbabwe's inflation rate reached 89.7 sextillion% per month. That is 89 to 700 percent. Prices doubled every 24 hours, sometimes every few hours. The government printed a $100 trillion banknote, a single bill with 14 zeros, and it still wasn't enough to buy a bus ticket. Workers demanded to be paid twice a day so they could spend their morning salary before it lost half its value by afternoon. But behind every number was a real person, a teacher who spent 30 years saving for retirement, watching her entire account become worthless in weeks, a farmer who sold his harvest for cash, only to find the money couldn't cover his next season's seeds, a mother standing in line for 8 hours to withdraw a limit of cash from the bank that couldn't buy enough food for dinner. Shelves in supermarkets stood empty, not because there was no food, but because no one could agree on what anything was worth. From 1 hour to the next, how did this happen? The government needed money it didn't have, so it printed more, then more. Then more again. Every new note printed made every existing note worth less. It was a spiral with no floor. The more they printed to solve the problem, the worse the problem became. Zimbabwe's hyperinflation ended only when the country abandoned its own currency entirely and switched to the US dollar in 2009. The lesson is brutal and simple. Money is only worth what people believe it is worth. The moment that belief collapses, so does everything else. Cash saved under a mattress doesn't just sit still. In the wrong conditions, it evaporates. What protects you is not how much you save. It is what you save it in.